tonight. Okay, so let's get started. This is part of our 30-minute virtual class series that we are running, and I'm going to quickly touch on our event schedule. So we already did a class on essential oils for healthy homes. We did essential oils for little ones last week. Tonight we're doing essential oils and emotions. Then we're going to move into why Ningxia is essential. That is Ningxia Red. It's our antioxidant superfood drink, but we will talk more about that next week. And then we're going to discuss essential rewards and some of the bundles and the reasons why we love to purchase using essential rewards, because we get the most perks to do it that way, and it's absolutely optional. It's a loyalty program. Then we'll move on to essential oils for staying healthy. I feel like this topic comes up a lot, and you guys are in the dead of winter, so this is the time for that. And then we'll talk about the Young Living business opportunities, since lots of people ask us this. This is obviously a very interesting time where a lot of us are, losing our jobs and such. So it's just a nice one, no pressure ever, and it's a good way, to just learn about how this business works. Okay, so a quick overview. For the class tonight, I'm going to go through our introductions, tell you a little bit about who I am, what essential oils are, how they work, the application for emotional support, raising your vibe, and then we'll talk about a recap and also what will come next. Sorry, excuse me, choking. All right, so introductions. I am Jade Elmaleh, and I'm doing this class with Ginny Johnston, and there is a huge reason why I've invited Ginny, and Ginny has so kindly and graciously accepted the offer to do this class with me. So Ginny, and I had this written down, I want to share about who she is and what she does, because she is such a love and a light. So basically, Ginny is our energy worker, loves to talk on this topic, and she will share a lot of stuff with you. But Ginny is actually a Reiki master practitioner. She is a teacher of Louise Hay with the Heal Your Life. For those of you who know that used to be like a Bible in my house. We used to, if something was wrong or we had an ailment, we learned an affirmation and how to work through it that way. Ginny is also an NLP practitioner and a holistic life coach. So she's just started also doing Aroma Reiki. She teaches that, and she had her first group of trainees actually this weekend. So that has happened, and then that Reiki that she teaches, the Aroma Reiki, actually combines healing touch with the practices of vibrational or subtle aromatherapy. So that's a general gist on who Ginny is. So there is a lot of training and a lot of thought that went into presenting this class with you tonight. A quick thing on, Jen, do you want to add anything to that before I talk about who I am? Did I miss anything?
No, not really. I don't think so. Just that
Okay.
I'm also an absolute lover of essential oils.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen. Okay, and so the other thing that I want to mention is, both of us have come to this place and learned that obviously with emotional support, it's all about balance. Balance in our minds, balance in what we feel, and balance in what we put in on our bodies. We find that balance helps us live life more completely, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And so we're so passionate about sharing this with you guys. For me, essential oils kind of came into my life because my little one wasn't well. And I then learned that there's actually something else other than traditional medicine that could help her. And it absolutely worked. I went into it with a very skeptical husband, but a very desperate feeling of wanting something different for my child to prevent febrile seizures, and they absolutely worked. So I'm really passionate about it. Our inspiration is that honestly, essential oils are gentle enough for babies and they're strong enough for hardcore trauma. That truly is the power of essential oils. So some of the more prominent studies on essential oils have to do with how they do affect us emotionally. Okay, some of us are new. I'm going to try and go.
I just wanted to add on that bit as well, Jade, that my experience was exactly that I've got 5 children, and I would use the essential oils on my youngest children, well, on all of them, but even on my youngest children, that they are that gentle, I can use them to help them sleep. But my very large, big, strong husband had a full nervous breakdown. And after weeks of trying so many different things to help him get better, it was the essential oils that got him better. And so that's why for me, this quote here saying gentle enough for babies and strong enough for hardcore trauma is exactly what I saw in my life. And I don't know many other things that you could say go to both ends of the spectrum.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate that. That was really weird. I saw bubbles go on my screen, so I don't know what energetically that was. But something liked what you had to say. Okay, so what are, oops, it's flipping through my things. This is very interesting. I did not choose the setting. Okay, back to where we were. Sorry, technical difficulties. See, I need to hire someone who does the screens for us all and we can just talk, but no, it's okay. We can manage this. We can do this. Here's where we were. All right, so what are essential oils? There's some people that are brand new, so I always love to cover this, but a lot of you know this, so I'm going to go through it in a pretty speedy way. They are the lifeblood of the plant. They are there, and their purpose is to actually protect and strengthen a plant. Each one is unique, and it's a volatile fluid. They are adaptogenic. They're also antiviral, antifungal, antiseptic, and antibacterial. They are extracted from all different parts of the plant. It's very carefully considered and examined which is going to be the most nutrient dense of that plant. And they either come from the roots, the leaves, the barks, or the seeds, and they use low heat, steam distillation, or resin tapping. Essential oils are tiny in size. They have 40 million trillion molecules in just one drop. So they are extremely concentrated, and they're about 70 times stronger than the herb that you'll find in your garden. So how quickly do they work? Okay, 20 seconds is how quickly you will find that the molecules reach the brain. And it goes straight to our limbic system, by the way, which is really connected to emotions. In 2 minutes, they are found in the bloodstream. In 20 minutes, they will affect every cell in the body. They are really mighty. So because of their tiny size and our inherent human receptors, it makes them the perfect natural medicine for us. So there are 3 methods of use when it comes to essential oils, and these are as follows. They're aromatic. Aromatic means using a diffuser or just doing an aromadome, which is a fancy way of literally taking an oil, and I'm going to take an oil that I have right here called Release, and it's taking this oil, like dropping it in your hand, you know, there it is, adding intention. Jenny's going to do this with you guys, and having a good smell of that. So that absolutely works for aromatic use. Topical use is where we have a roller. So we have, you know, something that looks like this. It has a little roller top, and we're using it topically on our skin. Usually we are diluting it then with a carrier oil. Carrier oils are like most oils you find in the kitchen: olive oil, grapeseed oil, avocado oil, any of these, and that's how we usually make our roller bottles. We do this to make them diluted appropriately for kids, and also to treat things like, you know, oh, I hurt my ankle, I'm going to treat it topically. And then, of course, we can use our essential oils internally. That is because we do a one-time distillation. So they are so pure. There is nothing added, nothing taken away. They are non-adulterated oils. It just so happens in South Africa, we don't yet have the license to make those claims. But I live here in the United States, and so we have these labels that are called Vitality oils, and they are the white bottle. The important thing to know is that as long as you know that this essential oil can come in the Vitality range, so this happens to be frankincense. Once I know that it has a Vitality label, I know that Vitality is safe for internal use. Of course, I'm going to take it carefully and with somebody helping me, and that's why I love that Young Living was set up the way that it was, so that we can have someone like our oily guru who helps us to know and understand how to do these things. But the point I wanted to make is it doesn't matter if your frankincense is in a non-Vitality label, the oil inside is the same. They are not changing what is inside to make it safe for internal use. It was just an FDA regulation that made us stipulate and have a different label on the bottle. Okay, over to you, Jen. Oh, you need to unmute yourself.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Cool. So Gary Young wrote this quote, and he says, essential oils offer us a natural way to restore our body's healthy electromagnetic vibrational frequency. So I'm going to talk to you about what that is in a minute. The elegance of their holism allows for easy functionality in our daily lives. Their constant, subtle presence gently resonates with our body's electrical fields, aiding and restoring harmonic health and well-being on all levels. Click over. So I think, Jade, you're also going to talk about why they're so high vibe. Don't know if Jade has disappeared. Okay, so I'm going to speak about this because she's put her picture back up. Okay, so why? Oh, you're back. Do you want to speak about this?
I'm so sorry, I'm back. Yes, my computer was going to die and I did not want you guys to not have this presentation and be kicked out of this call. So sorry about that. Yes, I'm going to talk about beyond organic, like what Young Living does. So this is what we call our seed to seal promise, or our seed to seal guarantee. So Young Living goes, oh, let me just mute everyone. Okay, there we go. So Young Living goes beyond organic cultivation in their processes. So they have native farming practices, over 25 years of experience, and therefore a high vibe energy. It means that the people that even work on the farms, they expect and ask for them to come with a positive attitude. They really believe that energy is everything and everything is energy. And they even have done tests on this. For those of you that might be like, what? That is so woo-woo. They really believe this. They've had, tests where you have plant A and plant B. Both are given equal water, sunlight, nutrition, and food to survive. And plant A is spoken to really badly and negatively and told, you are awful, you are wilting, you are dying, you are not going to help us to survive. And plant B, they're talking to with love and kindness and saying, you are amazing, you're giving us life, thank you for your oxygen. And what do you know, like plant A wilts and plant B thrives. So they really show that there is studies done to show that the way we are, the way we speak to plants, and the way our energy is absolutely reflected on the plant. So any of Young Living's farms actually have people who love their jobs, enjoy being out in the land, and this is what you are getting in your bottle of oil is a lot of love that went into this. Then harvesting and distillation practices, they use the correct time. They do a slow, low heat, one-time distillation only process. So our essential oils are 100% pure. In fact, they do not expire. It's only South Africa who requires anything that is on a shelf that it gets like a suggested expiration date. They insist to put that on. But in the United States, where it's a pretty strict country too, there are no expiration dates on any of our essential oil bottles. And that actually tells you that when something is that pure of an essential oil, it will never expire because there's nothing added and again, nothing taken away. So we have what we call a seed to seal guarantee or a promise. We're the only company that owns our own farms. We have an open door policy, meaning anybody is welcome. We're very transparent. Anybody is welcome to visit the farms, and we do extensive in-house testing and external testing as well to ensure that what you're getting is absolute quality in each bottle. Over to you, Jen.
Thanks. Sorry, I couldn't unmute. Yeah, so that just really leads into this frequency and vibration. There's an amazing lady called Vivienne Wurwood, who many of you I'm sure know. She's one of the kind of most famous aromatherapists, aromatherapy authors. And I was actually reading in one of her books just this last week before I taught my aroma Reiki class about, how the vibration of the oil is so much a part of what does the healing for us. So all those practices that Jade just talked about are so integral to how these oils actually help us heal, especially when we're talking about on an emotional level. So on a less physical, tangible level, but on the emotional level of our being. So let's talk about vibration and the frequency, because this is actually the side that many of us don't actually even know that much about. We oftentimes know, each oil can be used for this element and this thing, but we don't actually know what it's doing on a vibrational level. So what is a frequency? It's the measurable rate of electrical activity of a living thing. And it's measured in megahertz. And everything is vibrating. Everything has an electromagnetic reading that can be taken. And a healthy body vibrates usually between 62 and 68 megahertz. So if your body is vibrating within that level, it's going to be quite hard for any kind of sickness or disease or even emotional pattern to take root within your body. What's the difference between a low vibration and a high vibration? It's really about density. So when you've got a high vibration, so a high megahertz reading, it means that the atoms of that thing that you're measuring have got lots of space. So there's a lot of movement, and they're vibrating at this very high level with lots of movement. As vibration gets more and more dense, that substance becomes more and more almost like hard. So a table or my computer, it's dense, and it means that those atoms are tightly packed and there's very little movement. So what actually impacts our vibrational state? That's the kind of $64 million question, billion-dollar question. So much affects our vibrational state. So we're not static, we're changing all the time, us as human beings. So our thoughts affect our vibrational state, our emotions, our feelings, our relationships. Things either increase our vibrational state or they reduce them, or it keeps it the same. So I often work with my clients when I'm doing coaching with them to actually look at what kind of relationships are around them. Are they feeding their vibration or are they draining their vibration? Same with events and experiences and places. We have to start looking at our lives and going, what is actually draining me and what is actually fueling me? And then we see how it's affecting our vibrational state. And obviously diseases, viruses, foods and drinks all affect our vibrational level, and essential oils can affect our rate of vibration, which is really, really awesome. They help to increase our vibe, raise our vibe. So Gary Young, who founded Young Living and brought us these amazing essential oils, he teamed up with a guy called Bruce Tainio, who had developed a device that could read the electromagnetic frequency of food. He was testing the health of food that was being farmed. And they got together and they did all these really, really awesome experiments. And one of them was to test what happens to people when they think a negative thought. And what they found when they were doing this test is that negative thoughts tended to decrease the frequency of that person by about 12 megahertz. So just thinking a negative thought brought down the rate of that person's vibrational frequency. Then what they found is that thinking a positive thought increased the vibrational frequency by 10 megahertz. And for me, what's really interesting with this is that thinking a positive thought actually affects you less powerfully than thinking a negative thought. So for me, this really explains how we get caught in these downward spirals, because when you start to think something negative, it's so quick that the next one will come along and the next thought and the next thought, because that downward spiral is actually really, really, really strong compared to if you're trying to lift yourself up with a positive thought. I do the Louise Hay work, and that's all about affirmations, but you can't sit there and kind of just repeat over and over and over an affirmation and hope it will raise your frequency. So we've got to be really aware of what are we thinking and, what state are we in before we start intentionally trying to work with our thoughts. So then what they found that was very interesting also was that prayer and meditation increased frequency by 15 megahertz. So now here's something that's more powerful than a negative thought. And as they did more and more tests, they saw that essential oils that vibrated under about 78 megahertz tended to work more on the physical body, so for physical ailments. And essential oils that had a much higher frequency above kind of 78 megahertz tended to work more on the emotional sides of our body and our being. And what's interesting for this for me is that just because something has a low frequency when it's an essential oil doesn't mean that it's bad, because something like a cedarwood, that's a very grounding oil, that has a low frequency, and that's why it's grounding. And somebody that's like flying off the charts with a very high chaotic vibration needs that grounding. So don't think high good and low bad when it comes to the oils. Okay, so what also became apparent was that everything has a frequency and emotions are part of everything. So on the left here, on my screen, it's on the left, I put this chart in, which I think I took from the Abraham Hicks work. And they have this scale, this vibrational emotional scale. And basically, the stronger and more positive an emotion, the higher the frequency. So love, joy, passion are right up there, you'll see on the top. And all the way down at the bottom, you've got emotions of despair and disempowerment and grief and hopelessness, which are very, very low vibration. So it's quite interesting to just spend some time. I think Jade's going to send this presentation to you all, but to just spend some time looking at where you might be emotionally on this scale more often than not. We're obviously changing all the time, but just to get an idea of where you are and get an idea of how important it is to start raising your vibration. So they've actually tested all these different Young Living essential oils, Bruce Tenio and Gary together. And there's a list here that you'll see, if we can send this to you, you'll be able to see in more detail, just to see what frequency each oil vibrates at. But interestingly, rose oil used to be, I think, one of the highest recorded frequencies of any substance on the planet, and that was at 320 megahertz. But I know in more recent years, they did discover that Idaho blue spruce is actually higher and vibrates at 428 megahertz. So I don't have either of those. And just if you actually compare to a healthy lettuce, for example, that was growing, that vibrates at about 12 megahertz. So a healthy food growing is about 12. And when you compare that to 428, you can see that that's quite radical. So what happens is when we bring these essential oils into our body, or like I've been teaching now with this aroma Reiki, we bring it actually into the electromagnetic field that's surrounding the body. You don't even have to actually put it onto the body. But when you introduce that onto the body or into the electromagnetic field, it starts to affect our rate of frequency. And we store our emotions in different parts of the body and in different parts of the energetic field. And when you bring the oil in, it can help to uplift that emotion that often is very trapped. So what we tend to do, because human beings don't like to feel vulnerable, and some emotions make us feel incredibly vulnerable, so we tend to suppress them. And when we suppress emotions like worry, we put that into our stomach. And when we suppress emotions like anger, we tend to put it in the liver. By the way, these are just general guidelines. This comes from Chinese medicine, where they link the different organs of the body with emotions. But actually, we can actually store a pattern, a thought pattern or an emotional pattern in any part of our body. But usually it will go to these places first. So if we've got worry that's stored in our stomach, then oils that are really great to use are oils like bergamot and lavender and lemon and peppermint. And you can apply that directly onto the stomach, or you can diffuse it, as Jade was saying earlier. When you diffuse, it goes straight into, through the nose, straight into the limbic part of the brain, which can only be accessed through the olfactory system. So it's quite incredible. Smell is the only thing that can actually directly affect that limbic part of the brain. So when you breathe it in, it can help to balance your worry, or you can apply it directly onto it. Same for anger. We store it in the liver and the gallbladder. So some awesome oils to use there are lemon. Lemon is obviously known by a lot of us to be very cleansing to the liver. Lemon and lavender, peace and calming, frankincense, and you can apply that directly onto the liver area of your body, which I don't know if you can see my body here. I can't see it on the screen, but it's on the right hand side, just sort of below the rib cage, or just sort of where the bottom of the rib cage is, and you can apply that front and back.
Sorry, a question came up, like, could it ever be the case that you could use lemon and it would actually bring up anger? It would make you angry?
Such a good question. So a lot of these oils, that's exactly what they'll do. They'll bring out the suppressed emotions. And that's actually what we want, because what we're doing, as I said, we feel vulnerable. So we don't want to feel that feeling, and we stuff it down, but it doesn't go. It gets stuck in the body. And sometimes we can carry this for years, for a whole lifetime. And what the oils do, which is so beautiful, because they put the frequency in that lifts those emotions, it brings it to the surface so that we actually can deal with it, process it, and let it go. So emotions are just energy in motion, emotion. they're supposed to move. They're waves, like coded patterns of energy that move through our energy field. So we don't ever want to get them stuck. We want them to come out. So sometimes people will say to me, oh no, you know, I came to you for a session and now everything's all gone wrong. And I'm saying, no, everything's gone right, because it's supposed to all come up so it can kind of all fall apart, so that we can look at it, feel the feeling. It's so important to feel the feeling. I'm sure many of you have heard you have to feel it to heal it. Feel the feeling so that that emotional pattern can move through. So yes, it can bring it out. Okay, and then fear, which is obviously linked to the kidneys as well. Linked to worry as well. Fear goes into our kidneys, which affects our adrenals. So many of us are actually operating from a base vibration of fear every single day, which means that our bodies get stuck in the sympathetic nervous system lock. So we're on hyper alert all the time. And in order to switch back into the parasympathetic nervous system, we need oils that can help to kind of sedate our system, to tell us it's okay to rest and digest now. So some awesome oils to do that are valor, bergamot, geranium. Geranium is amazing for healing the inner child and will definitely bring out those suppressed feelings. Hope, we don't actually have hope in this country yet, but we've got many others, marjoram and orange, all amazing for just getting into that parasympathetic nervous system. And then, sorry, one more, grief. Grief gets stuck in the lungs, which is really in, don't worry, it's really in the heart center, in our heart chakra. So applying oils onto your chest, onto your heart in a clockwise motion, an oil like joy, for example, is absolutely perfect for that, which will just let the tears flow and will let us be able to come to terms with our grief without trying to suppress it, but also without getting stuck in it. If you find you get stuck in grief, then you want to use a citrus oil like bergamot or orange, just to actually remember that there is some joy and some life outside of your grief. Okay, so we don't just use essential oils to bring out suppressed emotions that we perhaps don't really want to feel. We also want to use them to enhance emotions that we do want to feel. So for forgiveness, for example, you can use geranium, which I said is really great for inner child healing. So often things have happened to the child when we were young, usually with our parents, and using oils that can bring forgiveness like geranium can help to bring that out so that we can actually work through the issues we've had with them and come to a kind of grounded, positive, peaceful conclusion. Frankincense, white angelica. I don't know if you all know white angelica, but it's absolutely phenomenal for creating like a force shield. My daughter calls it a love shield around the body. So great for highly sensitive people that tend to pick up all those heavy energies from other people. And then also you can use oils like lavender and lemon and bergamot. We can increase awareness with oils like frankincense. Frankincense brings out things from the darkness into the light. So if we've got patterns that we're kind of repeating that we're not aware of, it's great to help us with that. But it's also great just to help us be aware of how we're moving through our life. And you can apply that around your navel and on your chest and on your temples. And confidence has to be valor. So valor is all about confidence, finding your self-confidence, your self-esteem. Valor actually helps to balance the electromagnetic frequencies going up and down the spine. So it's called the chiropractor in a bottle, and it helps to straighten the spine, often by reducing inflammation as well that can be found in the spine that starts to kind of, squish us all. But as we stand up straighter, we all know we begin to feel more confident and more strong and stronger. So valor is a great one for getting that, like, yeah, I've got this kind of feeling going. And then if we want to feel hope, then we can use oils also like frankincense. Okay, some more feelings you might want to enhance. Happiness. Everybody wants to feel more happiness. So the oils that are fabulous for feeling happy are citrus oils. And if you just think of a citrus tree and how they just grow so abundantly. And so the citrus oils are really known for just lifting your feelings, waking you up, giving you energy, but also reminding you that life is abundant and free and that we're just here to express joy. Of course, joy is another great one to also use. And rose as well, with its super high frequency and its ability to work right on our heart chakra and just open our hearts. If you want to feel gratitude, sorry, I feel like I'm going really fast, but I know I do have to go fast. Is it okay, Jade? Am I going too fast? So much information.
You're not going too fast. It's actually a good pace because everyone's going to get this anyway, and they're going to be able to take their notes. But yeah, I feel like I want to be mindful. We're at the 30-minute mark, but okay, it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm kind of speedy. But yeah, you'll be able to just, you can take notes now, but you'll be able to go through this later. But we can use oils then to enhance gratitude. We can use oils to get us into the present moment. So an oil like ylang is really good for that because it's actually very anchoring in our body. Ylang, if you remember that sort of, it's quite like a musky, strong smell, and it roots us in our bodies. And when we're in our body, then we are much more able to feel our feelings and to know and to be mindful of how we're living. And if you want oils to feel safe, then like I said earlier, white angelica is amazing, and so is frankincense. And all of these, when you're working with emotions, it's great to put behind the ears, back of the neck, on the wrists. These are all fabulous places to get the oils in. Okay, so I know I'd promised a few of you on social media, I don't know how many of you will have heard, but for a few of you, I'd said bring an essential oil with. So if you have an essential oil that you've been drawn to work with today, get it out now. Because I'll show you, I'm going to use myrrh. Yeah, this is amazing. What have you got? Joy. Jade's got joy. So before you even open your oil bottle, I just wanted to show you a little process that I use in my healing work. It's actually a process that I used before I even had oils, but then I just added the oils into it and saw that it took it to an even deeper dimension. So with emotions, you want to become really aware of the emotions that you have in your body. We store them, as I said, in your body. So the first thing to do is to just put your feet flat on the floor, take in a deep breath. It just helps to anchor you in your body. And then just want you to ask yourself, what am I feeling and where am I feeling it? So hopefully all of you are able to identify an emotion or an emotional state in the body, like I'm feeling stressed or upset or hurt or angry, and to be able to notice where you're feeling it. And the next thing is to just take your hand and just touch that place where you're feeling it. Could be on your shoulder, could be anywhere, just touch that place. So I am feeling whatever, and this is where I'm feeling it. Then you're going to take your essential oil, you're going to open the bottle, and you're going to say, I choose to feel instead. And as you choose your new feeling to feel, I want you to breathe deeply in from your essential oil bottle. So if I had been feeling angry in my chest, I might say, I choose to feel peaceful. So I would breathe in. I choose to feel. Breathe it in again. I choose to feel. Okay. Now the next step is I release. So take your essential oil bottle away, go back to that area that was feeling the feeling and say, I now release whatever the original feeling was. So for me, I now release anger. Breathe into that area. I release anger. Repeat it several times in your mind with several breaths. And now finally go back to your bottle, take in a deep breath and say, I now receive. And now you're going to just let life, universe, God, whatever feels like a higher something to you, just say, I now receive, and let it make you aware of what the gift is, of what that feeling was trying to show you. So just breathe in, I receive. Breathe it out. Breathe in again, I receive. Breathe whatever that gift is into the whole of your being. And breathe out. And now notice how you feel. And I hope that you'll see you're in quite a different state than you were before you started. If you take your attention back to that place that was holding the emotion, hopefully you now see that you're feeling quite different. It's a bit weird for me. I've done this with big groups in live events, but never online. So I don't know if anyone was doing it or anything. Anyway, that's just one little technique. There's many that you can use to use the essential oils to release emotions in the body. But hopefully you find that useful.
That was great, Jen. I did. That totally calmed me down. I've been running around like a lunatic this morning. So thanks. That's completely
it's instant.
state.
Changes your state instantly.
So I will thank you so much for talking us through all of that and giving us that exercise and just sharing everything. I mean, I love hearing from you too, because I know that this is your heart. This is what you feel and what you know, and how you've integrated the oils into so much that you already know. So, what is the best way? Some of you are watching this and this might be completely new for you, and you don't have essential oils yet. You don't know anything much about Young Living until you just heard some of the stuff we've shared. So we really feel this is the best way to get started. We kind of call these our emotional potions or emotion potions. And the premium starter kit is going to be one of the best values for money. You're going to get thieves in here for immunity. You're going to get frankincense, so many things to do with emotions, prayer, grounding, orange, lemon, citronella. These are all very uplifting and really help you to vibrate on a higher plane. Purification, so many things, but I love it for infection as well, like preventing infection, as well as purifying the air. Lavender, calming sleep. Valor, we spoke about this one. Chiropractic in a bottle, feelings of being brave. Peppermint to kind of wake us up if we do have any pain or soreness, think headaches and such. We use peppermint. This is one of my favorite oils. It's become a lifesaver in this house because we don't use any pain medication for our little ones, where we used to use a painkiller if they had a temperature. And I was told I had to do that, otherwise I would have a potential febrile seizure. So just one drop in a 10 ml roller has been our saving grace in my house, and we use it down the spine. Anyway, eucalyptus radiata, great for sinus, for breathing better. And of course, you get a dewdrop diffuser with it. So this sells for 2,268 Rand. And so if you have someone who's told you about oils, this is a referral-based business. So definitely go back to them. Let them know that you're ready, you want to get started, and they will help you and they will hold your hand. So reach out to that person. If you don't have someone who can help you or you're not sure, please, you can reach out to me and I can help you, and I will, put you with, we kind of don't have anyone unattended to. So we have a beautiful community. It's an oily community. And so if you're needing to reach out to me with any other questions, feel free to. My number is 619, and it's +1 619 917 7777. Seriously, message anytime. So we do have WhatsApp groups in our community. When you get a kit, or you get, you're getting a wholesale account actually, which is quite amazing. So if there are anything more that you want, you're actually able to purchase it at the wholesale price moving forward. But there's never pressure to buy anything more ever again if you didn't want. So we do have a WhatsApp group. We have different regional groups. We have Cape Town, like all throughout South Africa. So you would be added to one of these so that you are able to ask questions. We will share recipes. We give tips, ideas, testimonials. We have an Instagram account. Most of you know this one, but in case you don't, it's at hello.essentials.south.africa. So follow us there if you'd like, and we do share about other events and things that we do. On Facebook, we have a private online community of our oily friends, and we have resources there. It's called Hello Essentials South Africa, and we have a global one called Hello Essentials, which has over 35,000 people, so it's really active. So even if you have a friend who's living in Australia, they too can get essential oils, which is really nice. So that brings us to the end of this class, and I mean, I know I speak for me and Jenny, we really feel grateful and thankful for you guys. There was a lot of you on this call, so thank you so much for taking the time. We realize you could be doing 50 billion other things, so thank you for giving yourself that opportunity to learn more, and for giving yourself enough self-love to take some time to actually learn something for yourself. So yeah, Jen, is there anything else you want to say about anything on this note?
No, just whether anybody has questions. Are we going to do questions?
Yes. And so finally, just to let you guys know, because some people might want to jump off, what you can expect is just keep an eye out for an email. That email we're going to send you to anybody. If you did not yet write your email information, please do in the chat. I do take that transcript and I will send you all an email within 24 hours. We will choose a random person to win a raffle that will do a fun emotion roller, And then this recording will be available. So we obviously covered a lot. We went over our 30 minutes. We did 40 minutes. So we'll share this recording so that you can go back and really listen and write down and take notes and whatever it is you wanted to. And then we'll include the next invite for next week's one, which is going to be why Ningxia is essential. So at that point, we are pretty much done with this class. So if anyone has questions, feel free. Ginny and I are going to hang out for about another 5 minutes before we end off. So thank you guys. Yeah.
Sorry, and also just to say, I'm going to do a kind of deeper class on emotions and oils. So if any of you want to be kept abreast of that, let me know. And I'll add you to a notification list, because I've had a few people in my team who've been asking for like deeper work.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate that. Thanks for opening that up to everyone. So any questions, feel free to put it in the chat. I'm jumping over to the chat now, or just unmute yourself and just start talking.
I've just realized when they put things in the chat, I don't know how to keep it. Like people are saying, email me and do this. I don't know how we keep the chat.
It's a transcript. So once the call's over, I get a whole transcript. So don't worry, nothing will be left unattended. And that's another thing is if we've missed one of your questions because it's near the beginning, I will get back to you guys. Just make sure to put your email address or some way for me to get you an answer on what you're asking. But yeah, I'm busy scanning the chats. And if anyone else has a question that they want, just Ginny is on hold, ready to answer.
May I ask something?
Yeah. Sure. Hello.
Hi, yes. Hi, my name is Marietta. Thank you so much for all the wonderful information. I was wondering, when you showed the slide about, let's say, anger in the liver, and you used the correct oils for that. Is there a specific time frame on how long it will take to release the anger?
Okay, so what I've really seen is the very first thing is you have to be actually ready and wanting the healing to happen. So that's the first thing. Some people think they're ready, but they're not. Other people, like with my husband, didn't realize he was ready. We put the oils on him and then a whole thing happened, which was a blessing, but he wasn't aware of it. So I would just say, firstly, really use your oils with intention. So before you apply them, really, I hold my oil and sort of put it almost to my forehead, almost in a prayer, to say, I would like help with this. So I'm focusing my mind. And then I can't say what everybody's body obviously reacts differently in a different way. Sometimes you need to be consciously aware of things that need to come out. Sometimes actually your body can just balance itself without you having to go into it consciously. So there's definitely no set, do this and this will happen in this amount of time. But your intention and your willingness.
But the class that you're going to give on deeper emotions, you will go deeper into that as well.
Well, I haven't written it yet, so I'll have to think about it. Yes, if you've got specific things you want me to do, let me know.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer.
And just another thing about releasing anger, we do have a blend called Release, and I have found that one to be absolutely phenomenal for working on anger when you apply it on the liver, and also you can add it to Epsom salts and then put that in your bath. So I put that in my bath frequently if I've had a row with my kids, or if I'm just feeling like, I'll put that in my bath, and then I'm consciously, as I'm lying in the bath, doing like what I just did with you guys, that little thing where I'm just breathing in and saying, I now release anger. I release anger, and I choose to feel. Because remember, we actually do choose how we feel, but most of the time we're just running off an unconscious pattern. So we're not, we're just responding. But when we bring mindfulness to our being, then we actually do get to choose how we feel. So just doing that in your bath can be profound.
What I've also noticed, I've only had my kid for a couple of weeks now, and all of a sudden, it's as if the emotion would just come up, not necessarily anger, more like a deep sadness, and I don't have any idea where it comes from, but it might be since I'm using the oils. So that's why I'm interested in the subject, because something is happening and I'm not sure what.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's so exciting. I love that. So yes, you have obviously indicated on a level you are ready, and it's like dirt sticking to something. And when you put a cleaning agent on it, it lifts the dirt up. And I kind of think that's what's happening with the oils. It just brings things that are actually ready to come up to the surface, but we've maybe been holding them down. And you know how much energy it takes to repress our emotions or suppress our emotions. It's like holding a beach ball underwater. It takes so much energy.
Because I also suffer from eczema and IBS and a whole lot of things. So yes, I do suppress my emotions.
Yes, lovely. You know what? And it's just when we're children, Jade, it's fine that I keep on talking now. Hey, people can leave.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm busy scrolling the chat. Yep. And if anyone needs to jump off, just jump off. But I will probably end the recording very soon. Yeah.
Okay. So it's just when we're children, we often are not allowed to express certain emotions. So for some people, they're allowed to express certain things and others they're not. So I wasn't allowed to express anger, for example. As soon as I did, I got shut down very, very fast. So for me, it's been quite difficult to learn how to let that feeling bubble up. I often do suppress it and put on a smiley face. And now in the last few years, I've been learning to not do that. So it's just a pattern. And what the oils can do is they can help interrupt that pattern, especially when we've consciously asked for it. So I think, yes, you're obviously saying I'm ready to release these grief feelings or whatever. Beautiful. Well done.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Jen, it's very, very helpful.
Sure. We're glad that you could enjoy. I have another question for you is, we suppress these emotions because we don't know how to deal with them. So how do we then get the healing process going? What do we do to deal with them? Like I hear feeling is healing, but it hurts, so we suppress them.
Yeah, so it obviously is on a case-by-case basis. We have to understand firstly what is the feeling and what is it linked to. So using mindfulness is really, really useful just for letting that wave, as I talked about, flow through us. So if it was anger, for example, we can just sit with it. So you realize, oh, hello, here's a feeling of sadness or anger or pain or rejection or abandonment or whatever it is. And instead of suppressing it, I'm just going to go, okay, I acknowledge you. And I find it really useful to think of the inner child. So think of that child that's inside you who's feeling that feeling. And if it was a real child outside of you, you'd be like, shame, my darling, I'm so sorry. And you would just hold that child. You don't try to fix it or change it. You just hold it and acknowledge it. And it's that acknowledgement that our inner child is just desperately needing to feel heard. So you do that. And when you do that, especially if you do it regularly, it actually can take only 90 seconds for that emotional pattern to actually move through. So a friend of mine described it like a train with all these visitors that comes into your station. And all you have to do is go, oh, look, anger's on the train, sadness is on the train, and really acknowledge them and welcome them and say, hi, you're welcome here. But then they'll get back on the train and they'll just go off through the tunnel and out the other side if we let them. So that would be the first thing, to use mindfulness to just really acknowledge and allow the feelings to be and bring deep compassion to yourself, especially if you think of that inner child. But if there's a much deeper story around it, which there might be, it might be that you need to go and speak to that person that caused you that pain, or you need to write a letter, or you need to go and do something with it. So in that case, then I would work with a practitioner like myself or a therapist even. I'm not a therapist, by the way, I'm a life coach, but, or work with somebody who can maybe help you just process more deeply those other things. I hope that kind of answers the question.
I think so. And then Jen, we have another one. Someone's daughter has Asperger's. Would white angelica still help them? So, will these oils help when people have pre-existing conditions, diseases, or any other, existing thing that they're managing?
Yeah, especially like spectrum things on the spectrum. So I'm definitely not an expert in that field, I'm afraid. I do know from many children that are on the spectrum, that essential oils can really, really help them. But I'm probably not the best person to give direct information there on that. But I would definitely start Googling because I do think that you'll find that there are other people, or go onto our Global Hello Essentials WhatsApp group. You'll find other people who've been using oils to deal with things like Asperger's.
Yeah, great. Good answer. I mean, for me, I feel that the oils are going to work in a body the way that we present ourselves or this is my personal take on this, but the way that, if you want to look at it from the spiritual level, that our souls have chosen to incarnate into this human body, I still feel that you're going to get a positive connection or reaction or result from essential oils, because we're dealing with something that is so natural. I cannot imagine that there is any negative effect. We just need to watch when it is things like, this person suffers from something like epilepsy. Well, it turns out something like eucalyptus can actually trigger that. So yes, we want to be mindful of those things, but when it comes to things like being on the spectrum or how behavioral stuff, usually essential oils are not going to harm or hurt. They're going to just help. That's been what I've seen in my experience with it. But I mean, we aren't experts in that.
And also just this raising the vibration, though, we actually didn't quite cover this, but when you raise the vibration of something that has a lower vibration can no longer hold. It can't hold its space. So the vibration rises here, and whatever gunky stuff is here has to fall away. So I think that's why sometimes the oils just heal without us even knowing. I mean, that's what happened to my husband when he had a nervous breakdown and we used oils and he had this huge turnaround. It's a long story I can share another time. But what I believe happened, he didn't consciously work through and process all that stuff. But what I think happened was the vibration went so high that all that old anger, frustration, depression, it had to fall away. And it's actually what's happening kind of out in our world at the moment as well. Our world is rising in its vibration and all this stuff is coming out now and we're all seeing it and thinking, oh, it's so awful, all this stuff is here in front of us. But actually it's like the gunk has to surface so we can move through it and rise to that next level. And I think that's why the oils are generally always going to be helpful in that way, because they're only going to increase your vibration.
Right. And so someone asks, how do you even identify what the feeling is that you're having? Like, what if you don't know that that's anger or grief or sadness?
So often what I do with people, like I did with you just now briefly, is I just said, go into the body and I would say, notice where there's an area of tension. That you can feel, restriction. You might not know what's underlying it, but the more you sit with it, I would do a process where I ask you to tell me like what color it is, what shape it is, what texture it is. The more we connect with that kind of block that's in there, the more you start to become aware of what's behind it. Often you can have a full conversation with that tension. Your shoulder's sore and you ask your shoulder, what are you feeling? What are you needing? And you imagine if my shoulder could speak, what would it say? And it can tell you. It's the same when you're choosing your oils. Let the oils speak to you. Go in your body and say, body, which oil are you drawn to? There is such wisdom in our bodies that we were never taught to tune into. We only really know how to be in our heads, but wisdom isn't in our heads. It's in our heart and in our body.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. I think that's such a big piece of this too, is just intuition. I think everybody wants to get a manual and follow something exactly and follow a protocol. But what we forget is we already know this. This is why I love seeing what I've seen with my own kids. They know, they'll come to me. My littlest, who we use these and had such success with her as a 16-month-old, she learned very quickly, this makes me feel better. So she used to come to me when her language wasn't even amazing yet, because she was only 16, 17 months. But I did sign language with my kids to also teach them. She would show me, she would say, hola, for like rola, and go like, hola, tummy, because she knew, like her tummy sore, or she's feeling whatever it is. And we would use the roller on her. And then I'm not kidding, it was like a cute little thing. She'd be, oh, better, so it's like so precious to see that and to know. And now as they've grown up, I mean, they have their sleepy oils, they have their good dream oils, and they have all these things, even the be brave and be confident, which I will use, the valor on them. Like now they've just started a new camp over here and everything is so different. We're all dealing with this. Now there's masks and this, I mean, it looks completely different to how it did. And that's very unnerving for children. Some of them are very adaptable and they don't even, it's just over their head. But others, they really are absorbing all of this and they're more empathetic. So these types of things really help for them to just know and to feel. I mean, there's been times where I've literally snuck into my daughter's room because I forgot maybe to put the white Angelica in her diffuser because she's been having nightmares and she woke up the night before. And no joke, like she wasn't even aware of that. And she'll wake up the next morning and say, oh, do you want to know what I dreamed? I'm like, I actually would love to know. And it's all positive and happy stuff. So, you know, whether everything sounds like woo-woo, my whole thing for people is try it, because you don't know until you try. And you might find that you have something instantaneous, like you did with your husband, where you're like, oh my gosh, wow, this is all coming up and we're seeing it right away. Others of us, it's going to take a little bit of time. We definitely say use consistency and try and have faith that these are going to work for you, because your body, as Ginny said, is very, very wise. You were born with this knowledge. So it's a really interesting, you know, journey to be able to take for ourselves and to teach our little ones of connecting. And as you said, Ginny, identifying the emotions. You don't even have to have a feeling about the feeling. It's totally fine to just acknowledge it and say, oh, I'm feeling anger. This is what anger feels like. And to say, okay, this is anger. And then to work on how can I process the anger. I try and teach my kids little things like, hey, when you feel angry, here's what you can do. You are welcome to stomp on the ground. You are welcome to take a pillow and scream in the pillow. I have no problem with that. What you're not allowed to do is hurt someone else. That is a not okay way to channel that anger. I know it needs to move, because emotion, we need to get those, you know, emotions, energy in motion, but there's a way to get it to move. And, you know, hurting others or hurting ourselves is not the answer. Anyway,
actually often acting on it at all is not the answer. It's just sitting with it and really feeling it is usually the answer.
Absolutely. And accepting it.
With essential oils, you can also do EFT. I'll do a whole class on that as well, actually. But to combine essential oils with EFT is great when you don't know what the feeling is, because you just start there going, even though I'm feeling this tension, you know, and as you go through the sequence of the tapping, you actually start to become aware of what it is, and your oils can totally support you the whole way through. Anyway, let's not get into that.
That's a great one. Yeah, it's almost like, you know, all of us need to have our 7 levels of why we do the things we do. It's almost like the levels of the feelings and peeling back. Like, okay, this looks like sadness. Why? What is it really? Oh, well, it comes from grief. Why? Why did, you know, exactly. and so you go through those levels, and then finally you will come to the thing that is like the where you feel like, oh my gosh, I could cry, and I'm trying to understand why, you know. Anyway, yeah, Ginny, I could also like talk to you for forever. I love this stuff. I love this topic, and I think there's a lot of positive response to this. We actually are going to have a survey. And in the survey, we do ask you, after you've watched this, for your ideas and your input on what you would be interested in hearing more of. So please take the time and fill that out so that we actually know, because our whole intention in doing these classes is to hear from you guys what you're wanting to learn more about. And that's what we will do our best to, you know, provide you with. So on that note, I think we're going to end this call, but thank you to everyone who joined. And Ginny, thank you so much for your thoughtfulness in, you know, helping to prepare the slides and all the information and sharing your knowledge with all of us, your knowledge and your wisdom. So
thanks. So welcome.
Thank you. So have a beautiful night, everyone. And yeah, be in touch with us. You will get that follow-up email. So look out for it and make sure. Sometimes it goes to spam or to junk. It does come through MailChimp, because it's the only way I can send a mass email. So just look out in your junk. Sometimes I get people saying, oh, I asked for the email and I didn't get it. Just check, because if you gave me your email address, you're on the list. So lots of love to you all. Have a beautiful evening, and I hope you all feel good and have beautiful dreams. Use your oils. You'll really enjoy them, I'm sure. Okay. Good night, everybody. Lots of love.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for joining tonight.